All right, well, thank you for joining us today. I am Christina Watford. I am one of the Persistence to Graduation consultants with the Department of Education. Lisa, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning. My name is Lisa Henry, and I'm also one of the Persistence to Graduation program consultants here at the Kentucky Department of Education.
Okay, so we are going to talk with you about, we're going to talk with you today about insights. If you are not familiar with this particular program, it is a data visualization module available to really all schools and all districts in Kentucky. It provides data visualization reports around student assessments, attendance, classroom performance, stability, as well as behavior. If you are familiar at all with the early warning system, then this is a companion tool that was built originally to talk with and speak with the early warning system in order to identify data for students with that grad score range or any of the early warning independent category score ranges that fall between 50 and 100. Based on user feedback, we can now turn that filter option off so that you can pull data for all of the students that are in your building, not just those students that have an early warning score between 50 and 100. So I'm going to walk you through how to use the tool and how to set that filter so that you have a very clear understanding of how to use the tool for your user role and in order to be able to customize these reports to suit your needs. So there are multiple dashboards. Each column on this particular page shows you the individual dashboards from assessments, attendance, behavior, classroom performance, and stability, as well as an aggregation dashboard. And then each of the blue labels represents an individual report. So there are a lot of reports. There's a lot of information that you can pull on each one of these. We will not have time to walk through all of these reports today. My main purpose in presenting this to you today is I want you to know how to use the tool. If there's anyone in the audience that is like me, if you give me a tool, but you don't show me how to use it, chances are pretty good I am not going to have time in my day, in my day-to-day job, because I came from a school counseling position. I just did not have time to sit down and to learn how to use a new tool. But if you would teach me how to use it, it increased the likelihood that I was going to use that particular tool. So that's my goal for today, is to teach you all of the features that are available in Insights to help you customize reports to make the data relevant to you as an individual user in your day-to-day job. And then also if you are working with a PBIS or an MTSS team, how you all might be able to customize the reports from a team structure and standpoint in order to be able to make the data useful to you as well. So as I mentioned, all districts and schools have access to Insights because it's part of the campus analytics suite that we have with our contract with Infinite Campus. However, individual users have to be granted tool rights in order to be able to view the reports. We do encourage schools and districts to use discretion around who they grant rights to, simply because there's a lot of personally identifiable information, not only on the student side, but also when you get into the behavior reports and the classroom assessment reports, a lot of information that can be pulled at the teacher level as well. We do encourage districts to consider granting rights to administrators, counselors, and then even for some of these reports, consider adding rights for your FRISCs as well, because these are things that they can use in order to help do their job better as well. Beyond that, we would really encourage you, to sit down and think strategically about who the people are that need to be able to view this data. And I think that will make a little bit more sense to you once you get in. You can see the tools and the reports and see the types of information that can be pulled. So just want to make you aware that Infinite Campus through Campus Community has an entire set of knowledge base articles that are available for users Once we end today's session, if you have additional questions about each of the reports, want to be able to find more information, you can go and you can access that in the knowledge base in Campus Community. And then within Campus Community, if you will click on the Campus Passport tab, if you have that account set up, they have a video series that you can go in and view as well. So there are multiple resources beyond what we're presenting to you today that you can use to your advantage as well. We also have some additional information posted on the Early Warning and Insights Resource Hub that we have here at the Department of Education on the Persistence to Graduation page. That QR code will take you directly to that page. You can also just Google KDE Persistence to Graduation, and it will take you there as well. We are adding additional resources for Insights in the coming months, so stay tuned. While there might not be a whole lot on there right now, there will be some additional pieces that will be added, and the recording for today will be added there as well, eventually once it's available as well. We wanted you to have the email addresses for the Persistence to Graduation team. We can all help you if you have questions around early warning or insights. We do workshops at the district level. We travel the state and we do those workshops all the time. We also present at conferences. In addition, we provide technical assistance to individual users. So if at any point you are trying to figure out something in either one of these tools and you just have a question that you want to ask and want us to help you problem solve or help you figure out how to make the tool work to your advantage, please feel free to reach out to any one of us. We will be happy to help answer any questions that you might have. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen and we are going to walk through a live demonstration of Insights. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. Lisa is going to help to monitor the chat. And I believe that Wendy might be here to help monitor the chat as well. But we want to make sure that we answer any questions that you might have before we leave today. So this is Insights. If you have rights to it, then underneath your main menu, and I'm working in the new view, in the under the main menu new view, you will simply see Insights. If you don't see Insights, then you do not have rights granted to you at this time, and you would want to talk with your STC or whoever it is in your district that grants rights to you, or in your school that grants rights for Infinite Campus. So underneath the main menu, you click on Insights and all of these reports will show up. Today, we are going to start with an absenteeism tier view. I really like this report from a training standpoint because it allows me to show you several of the features. And again, I just want to reiterate that my point in presenting this to you today is I want you to know how to use the tool rather than knowing all of the different reports that are available. I am going to show you a couple of different reports, but all of the features I'm going to present to you, these are all pieces that you can apply to any report that you open up. The data that displays is different. However, the basic functions and features of the program will be the same from one report to the next. So this particular report is an absenteeism tier report. It breaks attendance down into 6 absenteeism tiers. The first one is a less than 5% category, and it's over here on the left side of my screen. And you can see down at the bottom, I have a legend. Every report will have a legend down at the bottom to help you understand what all of the color coding on each of the aggregate view charts look or is trying to give to you. So this one is breaking it down by grade level. You can then see that we have a 5 to 9% category, and then we have 4 categories of students who are in that chronic absenteeism tier set. So we've got 10 to 14%, 15 to 19%, and then we also go all the way over into those students who have missed over 30% of the school time. So I want to show you that if I hover over any one of the lines on the chart, then it will give me an aggregate data count of the students that are represented in that particular chart at this given time. So this is telling me that we have 170 students in the less than 5% category that are in the 9th grade. However, I told you that by default, the system is pulling students that have an early warning attendance score. In this case, it would be early warning attendance since it's since it's an attendance report. But right now it is only filtering students who have that early warning score that falls between 50 and 100. I also shared with you that you could turn that off. So if you want to display data for students regardless of what their early warning score is, then you would click on this little filter option. And from there, you click on the EW attendance. Anytime you see EW, that stands for early warning. And you'll notice that not all of the early warning scores are checked. That's because it's only pulling for those with 50 to 100 early warning attendance score. However, if I hit select all and then apply, I can now hover over that same bar and it's giving me 181 students in the 9th grade in that less than 5% category. Now, this is a report that is looking at chronic absenteeism. And because of that, it is set to also pull based on the federal definition of chronic absenteeism. And part of that definition says that a student has to be enrolled in your district for 10 days or more before they are going to pull on this report. So to further show you how you can customize these reports, if I come down here to scheduled days, I see that same filter icon that we originally saw for the early warning attendance. So I know that it is also filtering based on the number of days that the student has been scheduled into the district. So if I open that, I can see that the label is set for greater than or equal to 10. That means that the student has to be in the school or in the district for 10 days or more before they're going to pull on this report. If I want to change that and I want to view this for every student in my building, regardless of whether or not they've met part of that federal definition of federal chronic absenteeism, that they have to be enrolled for 10 days or more, I can simply change that to 1 and then click apply. And now we were at 181. Now we're at 182 days. So now I know that I'm pulling data for all of the students that are in my building. Once I have all of that set, if I want to see the names of the students who are in the 9th grade who have missed less than 5% of the days, all I have to do is double click. And when I double click, it takes me to a details report. And the details report will show me all of the names of the students that fit based on that column's information. From this report, if there is additional information that I would like to add to the details report, I can click over here on this little arrow that's on the right side. I can open it up. Anything that has a check mark is already on my report. Anything that does not have a check mark is not showing on my report at this time. However, if I want to add it, all I have to do is place a check mark next to it. So on this particular report, it might be important for me to know the student's gender, the student's race and ethnicity. I can simply place a check mark there, hit apply. And now if I scroll over, you can see that with very little work on my part, I was able to add in additional information on this details report. I'm going to close this out because I want to walk you through a couple of other things. Anything that is listed here as a category under filters, I can open any one of these up and I can filter information to customize a report to make it more useful for me. So let's just say, for example, that I really do not, in the work that I'm going to do today, I really don't need to know the students who are in the less than 5% or the 5 to 9% category. I only want to focus on the chronically absent students. I could take those two categories out, leave just the chronically absent and click apply. And you can see that that information was removed very, very quickly. And again, I can hover over and I can see all of the same information that I could see on the original columns that we were looking at. If I want to add it back in, again, very quickly, very easily, I can go in and I can add that information that I took out and add it back into my report. If I just wanted to look at a specific grade level, let's just say that today I only want to focus on 9th grade, I can click apply and all of my other grade levels are gone. So it helps me to really hone in and focus on just what I need to know to do my job right now and in this moment. But if I need to add it back at some point, I can very easily do that. So all of these are categories where you can filter information. So I am going to add all of my grade levels back in. And I want to show you that there's a way for you to go in and change your chart view. You could, if you don't like the column view on any particular report, you can flip to a bar chart. You could go to a line graph. I really like the stacked column. The reason that I like the stacked column is it gives me all of those color-coded categories for each grade level. However, now whenever I hover over any grade level, I see not only the aggregate data for that particular grade level, but I can also see the grand total for the entire school. So now I can see those 182 students in the less than 5%, but I can also see that there are a total of 635 students in all grade levels, and I couldn't see that when I was looking at the column chart. So I really like the stacked column for a lot of these reports and the data that it's displaying. To make this product even better, one of the things that I like the most about it is that I can flip between these chart views, which are nice for presentations. And they also give me a very easy visual glimpse into how data is breaking down within the school. But I also can flip over to a grid. And in this grid view, it gives me all of my aggregate data counts rather than in a chart view. It gives it to me just in a grid view, much more like a spreadsheet. And each one of the cells on this particular grid are clickable links as well. So if we go back to those 182 students in the 9th grade in the less than 5% category, and I double click, it takes me to that same details report. And if you remember, I added in student gender and ethnicity. So it has recognized that I pulled that into my report today, and it has kept that setting for me even whenever I flip over to the grid view as well. I will point out to you that in the chart view, if you remember, I showed you where the filter was over on the right-hand side. In the grid view, your filters are across the top. So if I were to hover over this EW attendance score or the absenteeism days, any of these categories, those are filters as well. I will caution you that in the grid view, I have noticed that you do not have access to all of the same filters that you do in your chart views. So I have a tendency to default to the chart view in order to set my filters rather than relying on the filters that are across the top in the grid view. That's just a little pro tip and something that I have learned over time. So once I have a report working exactly, well, let me back up. Let me go back to the grid view for a second. So I also wanted to point out that in the grid view, one of the other things that I like about this is I can also see my grand total counts, not only by grade level, which is represented in the columns, but I can also see the grand totals for each of these absenteeism tier categories, which are represented in the rows. And so all of those grand totals for every student in that less than 5% category are over here to the right-hand side, and those are all clickable links as well. So that will take me to a details report for all of those students. And if I want to know what the attendance view is for all of the students in my building, then I can click right here, and this is the information that you need for all of your students. So once I have a report set and it's pulling all of the information that I need or want it to pull, I can then export that report. And whenever I go over here to export, I can either print it, I could send it to a CSV file, I can send it to a PDF if I want to be able to email that to someone, but I can also send it over to Excel, which to me is one of the best features of this tool. Because once I send this over to Excel, all of the features that are available to me in an Excel spreadsheet are now available to me for all of this data as well. So if I need to remove duplicates, if I need to do some advanced sorting, if I need to use some functions or some formulas, create pivot tables, whatever you might need to do, send it over to Excel, and you can do all of that in an Excel spreadsheet. So I will also show you that we can save templates. I don't want to have to remember all of the steps that I took to customize a report to pull the information the way that I need it to pull. So I can save that template. That way, the next time I log in, I can just simply select that template and open it up, and I don't have to go through all of those filters, and resetting all of those, or, adding in the extra information that I want into my details reports or any of that. Once I have all of that set, I just go to a Save New Template, type in a template name, hit create, and then the next time that I log in, I would just select a template. So you can see that for the absenteeism tier, I have created 3 custom template reports, and I can open up any one of those. And it would give me the information, as I need it, without having to go through and recustomize a report. I also want to show you that if you are using the early warning tool and you are creating a watch list and you only want to see data displayed for students who are on your early warning watch list, you can go to the student filter and click watch list, and it will only give you information for the students who are on your early warning watch list. If you are assigning caseloads in Infinite Campus, such as counselor caseloads or special education caseloads, any place where you can go in and assign a caseload, you can also pull data just based on your caseload. I could also pull information for the students who are on my early warning watch list that are on my caseload. So if I only want to see the students that are on my caseload and on my early warning watch list, I can stack those. In addition, I can also use any ad hoc report that I have created or that I have access to, and it will only pull information for students who are on those ad hoc reports. So you'll notice as we navigate through this, and once you get in and you are able to start playing around with the tool, that there's no filter setting, just a filter based on special education needs, 504 needs, gifted and talented needs, athletic students who are involved in athletics, any other ad hoc. However, you can pull that information in based on that student ad hoc. And again, you could stack that. So if I just wanted to see a view of the data of the students who are on my caseload and or my early warning watch list who also have special education needs or 504 needs, gifted and talented, again, whatever ad hoc you're wanting, you can stack all of those and it will just display data based on that information. So that is the absenteeism tier report. I also wanted to very quickly show you that there are reason by weekday and reason by period reports. They look very similar. It's just that one is going to break attendance data down by weekday and then by attendance excuse code. The other one is going to break it down by period. So I won't show you both, but I just wanted to show you this one. And the reason that I want to show you this one is because you'll notice that there's a count of attendance option versus a count of students. So count of attendance is going to count every attendance event that has been marked in Infinite Campus for all of the students in your building. And it does that by class period. So in Kentucky, we take attendance by class period rather than by day. So if you have a 6-period day and you have a homeroom and you're taking attendance in all 7 of those periods, 6 class periods and your homeroom period, then if a student is marked absent all day long, they will actually show up on the report 7 times for that day. But if you remember, I told you that you can send reports over to Excel and remove duplicate information. If you only want to know that that particular student was absent on Monday and you don't necessarily need to know that he was absent 7 periods on Monday, then you could send that over to Excel and you could remove that duplicate information so that he only shows up on your report 1 time. And then for count of students, it just tells you the total number of students who are involved in all of those attendance events. So in your chart views, you have to toggle between those 2 options in order to display the information in your chart view. However, if you go to your grid view, you can see that side by side. So you can see here under college visits in your grand total that there are 7 attendance events and there's 1 student that's involved in those 7 attendance events. I'm presenting this to you from a stage site. The data is very limited. You will notice when you get in and start working with this that your data system will be much more rich than this particular stage data set. But if you scroll all the way over here to the right-hand side, you can see the grand total of attendance count events, and then the total number of students who are involved in all of those events. You can double click on either one of these reports and it will give you the same information. It will just, one will have the count of attendance at the top, whereas the other one will have the count of students. But you could open this up. You've got all of your attendance events. You could send that over to Excel, remove any duplicate information that you need to in order to make this a little bit more useful to you. You can also, inside of these detail reports, you can sort information by clicking at the top of the column on any one of these columns. But if you wanted to alphabetize your list, because it's not going to come alphabetized, all you have to do is click at the top and it will alphabetize your list. And again, you can sort by any one of these columns. And don't forget that this little side arrow is where you can go in to pull in additional information into that particular report. So I want to hop into a behavior report real quickly.
Christina, before
Sure.
you do, we have a question in the chat. If you can review some ways to pull and simplify reports for tardies with insights.
Yes, so the status by period and the status by weekday reports, those both provide you glimpses and views. If you scroll along the bottom, you can see that there are a lot of different event types that this is pulling. I'm showing you this just because I want to show you how you can maybe start to narrow some of this information down in order to make it useful and a little bit more digestible for you. If I want to know all of the students who have received nicotine cessation materials based on the requirement in House Bill 142, and I am just using this as an example, I could go over here to my filter. I can go to event name. I can take out all of the events and narrow down just to tobacco distribution, possession, and tobacco use. And then any other event types that you might be coding where you would hand out nicotine cessation materials. And I can click apply. Now I'm only looking at the data for the tobacco use. If I come over here to the grid and I go to my grand total, again, I can open up either one of these, the count of grand total, count of behaviors, or count of students, and I'll get the same information. But I can open one of those up and I can go to this resolution name and I can sort, and I can see that all of these students have been involved in some tobacco related incident. However, there is only one student that it has been documented in Infinite Campus has received those nicotine cessation materials. This would be a really good, useful way for you to ensure that you are following any legislation pieces that have been handed down whenever it comes to resolutions and specific, regarding specific behaviors. So this is just an example of how you can narrow information down in a realistic and practical way to help you figure out, who might need those materials. So I just wanted to use that as an example of how you might be able to filter information down. And again, once I have that, I can very easily go back in and add in all of my events and click apply. If I were to come over here to the grid and again, open up my grand totals, these are all of the behavior incidents that have happened in this particular building throughout the school year or up to this point in the school year. If I want to go in and add in additional information, so for me, I would think that it would be important to maybe know incident date, incident location, and incident time. I can click apply. And now if I'm trying to figure out where our events are taking place and what time of day they're taking place, maybe because I need to change my supervision schedule, then I have the data that I need whenever I go to present that to my staff to say, this is the reason why we need to change our supervision schedule. And I don't have to do a whole lot of work in order to be able to pull this information, which is what is really so great about this tool. Is, again, you can customize it and you can make it useful for you. You can create multiple templates from the same report. If you have different uses for the same report or want to use the information in different ways and just support your work in different ways, you can create multiple templates for all of these as well. I will also show you a classroom performance report. So in this classroom performance report, it gives you a lot of information. You can narrow this down. This is showing you how scores break down based on some percent tier categories, and you can see those percent tier categories down here at the bottom. But the reason that I'm showing you this report is not only because you can narrow it down into a single class if this is too much data for you to look at. To me, this is a lot. I would probably narrow this down to either a single class or a grouping of classes. So maybe look at all of your math classes, all of your science classes, your social studies classes, but you can use your filter to do that simply by going to course name, and then you can just select a specific course. I'll use Algebra 1 as an example. You could do all of your math classes or just one class. We're just going to do one. But the reason that I wanted to show this to you is that this has a feature that you haven't seen up to this point. And that is anytime you see this little plus mark next to something, that means that there's additional information to expand out. So if you click that plus, you can now see how the scores break down for all 3 of your Algebra 1 teachers. And then you can also go to the grid. And again, you can see that the data breaks down based on those 3 teachers, and you can toggle that and collapse it simply by clicking on the caret that's over here on the left-hand side of the course name. And then if you want to see how the data breaks down for the individual teachers in the grid view, you would just simply click on that caret and the teachers will drop down. So I wanted you to see both of those symbols, both in the grid view and then also on the chart view, so that you'll know that that means that there's additional information that you can expand out on this. So there are also assessment reports that you can pull as well. Any assessment that you document and notate in your assessment tab, you can pull reports on as well. So this one is pulling information based on the KSA data. However, if you're adding in the civics test, if you're adding in map testing and you're loading all of that into the assessment tab, you can run reports there. If you're interested in knowing how to run an ACT report, let me know, because I'll need to send you some specific instructions on that. If you go in and you just select the ACT up underneath the test name, it's going to show blank. That's because there are some additional customizations that you need to do. So just reach out to me and let me know, and I can send you that information. But before we run out of time, I wanted to show you the only report that will probably be useful to most schools will be the enrolled by status. The active RTI plan and RTI participation reports will only be useful to you if you are documenting your RTI plans through the RTI feature in Infinite Campus. They look very much like special education documents. So unless you're creating those there, those reports will pull blank for you. Just wanted to prepare you for that in advance. But the enrolled by status report would be one that you might want to take a look at. But I do want to show you the Insights aggregate dashboard. This particular tool allows you to set up to 4 reports in your own aggregate dashboard that you would use most frequently, and that you just want to be able to log in and capture a quick view of what that data might look like. You can pull in both the chart view, or you can pull in a grid view. So you can see I've got a couple of these are set to the chart views. This one down here is a grid view. The one thing you cannot do is you cannot pull in a details report. So make sure that you are in your chart view or your grid view, not in a details report to pull in. The details reports will lock and freeze your system up. So just be aware of that. But you can set this for your personal preference down here with this configure button. And then this allows you to determine which report you want to put in each one of the quadrants. And you can see that if you have created any templates, then you can pull in a template that you have created for that particular report as well. You can hover over, it will give you the same aggregate counts. You can also double click and it will give you the details, but it does only give you a view of it in that little quadrant. So if you want to see the big full report in a larger view, then just open the report up through the regular dashboard. So we are down to only about 4 minutes. I just want to take the opportunity to be able to field any questions that you might have with the remaining time that we have.
So Christina, one of the questions that we have in the chat deals with the events by resolution dashboard. So
Yes.
Joanne asked, is there a way to add multiple outcomes, such as like a student was suspended for tobacco possession, but then also receive literature on cessation?
If you have documented both of those resolution names or resolution titles in Infinite Campus, then the data should pull for both of those. The student is just likely to show up on your report twice. So when you go over to your grid view, and you were to open up, and you could do it, but based on any one of these categories or in your grand total, if you have documented both of those resolutions within the same discipline referral, then both of them should show up on your report. It's just that the student would show up twice on the report.
Okay. We also had a question from Wayne, which we answered in the chat, but probably to help make everybody aware, sometimes between school years, kids are disappearing from data, whether it's an early warning or insights. And he said, for example, he's looking at the absenteeism tier and he should see about 100 freshmen, but he's only seeing 33. So do you want to talk about what happens when a student might be indated but not re-enrolled?
So it could be based on the end date. There will be, so one other feature for you to be aware of that I didn't cover is if you go up here to fields, anything that has a check mark next to it is likely to show up in your filters as an option for you to be able to filter. And sometimes your enrollment status is unchecked, or you need to go in and look at what the enrollment status is pulling for a particular report. So for example, and I'm not sure where I am on time, if I come up here to absenteeism tier, the student active today may be what you need to look at to see if you can get students to filter back into your information. So if they're not showing active, like if the false has been unmarked or true has been unmarked, it can impact the amount of data that you are pulling in. So that might be one thing that is helpful to look at. If that doesn't help to answer your question, let me know. We'll see what we can help you to figure out on that as well. I'll also take this opportunity to show you that on these reports, you can also use the labels feature. I don't know if you saw that here just a second ago. Get back. So the labels feature will also help you to either narrow down or expand out information as well. So for example, if you just wanted to know what attendance looked like for a specific date range, I don't think I picked the best report to show you. But if you just wanted to know, what attendance looked like within a certain date range, then you can use that labels feature, and you could click the between option, attendance date. Here we go, labels, and then you can click the between option down here. And that between option, you can set a date range in these two boxes right here, and it will just display information for you that's between those date ranges. And you could do that for your behavior reports as well. But again, don't forget that if you need to know a date range and it's not giving you a filter option, always go up here to fields and look to see if there is a date option or some other option that you're looking for that you can check mark that will add an additional filter option for you. So I think that we are right at time. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We are happy to help you in any way that we can.